Hello and welcome back to the Nasty Metal Productions channel here at YouTube. I could have done this next week, this currently listening to video, but kind of going through the albums that I've been listening to the past couple of weeks. There's quite a bit to actually talk about. So, and of course it includes some new recent ones from, you probably know who. But, yeah, let's also address the album that's playing in the background, which of course you should know by now who it is. This is Raven, Rockin' Till You Drop, classic album. Just a classic new wave of British heavy metal album. From a classic new wave of British heavy metal band. Of course, I just got done talking about another classic new wave of British heavy metal band, which was Diamond Head, and their recent album, which I've also was kind of listening to as well, which that's a good album. I'm actually really surprised, but this is just a good one as well. Their debut full-length album that was released in 1981. Not in the best condition, because again, there's you can see somewhere that crease, but this was because again I came across, there was about 2 copies down in Fresno at Spinners Records back in 2012, but the thing was the copy that I had seen at Reno and Recycled Records, it was gone, so obviously I had no choice but to pick it up right then and there in Fresno at Spinners Records. But good album. Don't want to make this video too long, so let's definitely move along. Quite a bit of CDs to talk about than really LPs, but there is some LPs within here. Vicious Rumors, Digital Dictator. Now let me bring up the other album that I'll spend after that. The reason I busted this album out was because I was playing some old PlayStation 1 games, and one of the games was Alien Trilogy, and for some reason I wanted to find an album that could fit that atmosphere, and for some reason Vicious Rumors Digital Dictator actually kind of fits that very sci-fi atmosphere. It's like, it's definitely different from the Soldiers from the Night album in a way, because again that album was all more about like, you know, Vikings or some sort of that shit, very epic sort of leaning, you know, talking about Medusa here. It's all about like digital shit, technology, sort of that stuff. Of course, it's the debut of, you know, who, Carl Albert from bands such as the Ruffians, Villain. I did a review for this one as well. And this made my list for the top, you know, 30 best USPM albums of from USPM month. But I like the album, I do. Maybe not as much. Yeah, this might be considered a little blasphemy, but not as much as this one, which is this is also another album I reviewed for USPM month. This is, of course, is their 3rd album, which followed Digital Dictator, and I actually like this one a bit more, surprisingly. I have to turn it up. Fucking love that part of that Hell Patrol. But this one right here I actually like a bit more. It's this one, instead of kind of going for the past 2 albums, instead they kind of progressed on the Digital Dictator and decided to kind of go for more sound. It's kind of acting the Metal Church and Heretic, and even at times Overkill, like early Overkill in a way. Just even of course it has that Judas Priest sound to it, kind of like Painkiller. But this is just a good album, definitely a good album. I really can't say the Don't Wait For Me, On The Edge, Ship of Fools. Again, there's a Hellraiser. Down to the Temple. This is just a good album. Let's definitely move along. Of course, another album I pulled out while playing not a PS1 game, but a PS3 game, which is fucking Skyrim. And I wanted to find an album that can fit that atmosphere, and there's about 3 that kind of did, and a few others. Heavy Load. Yeah, I'm not gonna play some fucking symphonic shit, which I'll get to some symphonic metal we're gonna get there. But Halloween, for some, again, classic power metal band from Germany. This is Walls of Jericho, which also features the 1985 EP, which is killer EP. It still does it still does something for me. It hits the spot. Every time I want to listen to Halloween, for some reason, it's that 1985 EP. I always tend to go to those tracks the most. It's just a killer EP. Songs of Starlight, Murderer, Warrior, Victim of Fate, Cry for Freedom. Just the whole entire EP is great. However, the album itself, Walls of Jericho, it's got some good tracks in here, Reptile being one of them, which apparently is about AIDS. Yeah, try and put that. Yet, if you can make sense out of the lyrics, you might get it. But Walls of Jericho, which is not really a song, it's pretty much just horns playing the fucking oh god, that Halloween theme in Halloween 3 Season of the Witch, that commercial. Goddamn, the words isn't coming to me. But it's just a fucking horn section of that goddamn theme. But is it fucking self-indulgent for me? It kinda is. But of course you go on to Ride the Sky, which is a good track. Phantoms of Death, Metal Invaders, Gorgor, maybe not as much. Heavy Metal is the Law, How Many Tears? Or Tears, I guess, either way. And of course you got the song Judas, which is from the 7-inch. Good track. Other than that, of course it's got some remixes, which on here, on the second disc, it does include the two death metal comp tracks. Ornest of Life and Metal Invaders, which are also good tracks. Ornest of Life, I think, should have been recorded for the album as well. That's a killer song as well. Pretty much a lot of Halloween's early stuff is pretty much the band's best. I still haven't ventured a whole lot into like their 90s stuff to present, but I'm not expecting much. And of course, another album I pulled out to play through while playing, Skyrim was Molly Hatchet. Reasons, hence, I guess, because the artwork, which can fit the imagery and sort of atmosphere of Skyrim. But this, of course, is one of before I get to that, this was taken from the box set that I have, which pretty much is the whole entire later discography from at least the 90s, the reunion album, up to like their last one. It's pretty much the whole entire SPV, era. But I actually like this album. Many people will definitely say that this might not be their best, but for me, this might be blasphemy, but I think this almost rivals any of their earlier stuff. This is pretty much Molly Hatchet put in overdrive. And again, Molly Hatchet were always described as probably the earliest southern metal because of the riffage were very metallic and very heavy in terms of southern rock. It was kind of mixing that very, hard and heavy stuff of like Ted Nugent, Deep Purple, and what other Kiss, I guess. It was kind of going for that, but here instead, the sound is more akin to the likes of like Saxon or Iron Maiden, Thin Lizzy, or even like Tank. Let's say like 80s Tank, if anything. It just has that new wave of British heavy metal sound. Even also has a sound that's also acting like Germany's own Accept. This is just literally heavy and ballsy. World of Trouble is definitely a good track. Even the acoustic cover of Fall of the Peacemakers actually fits the sound well. It's just a very well-rounded, consistent album with production done by, what's his name? Oh, God. I can't think of his name, but two of the producers here worked with many German metal bands. One of them also working with Saxon during the same time, but still good. If you want to know any more hints, the guy also produced this album and helped actually engineer or produce it, worked with like Assassin on their debut album, Railway, Violent Force. Quite a bit of I guess having those two producers was able to give, the boost up the sound of the album, the way to give it its heaviness. But yeah, good album. And of course, also to play along with Skyrim is Dio's Holy Diver. Who knows, it probably has to do even with Metal Theologian kind of talking about Dio for the couple of videos that he was doing. But, good album still. Stand Up and Fight, of course you got the track Holy Diver, Gypsy, Invisible, Rainbow in the Dark, Shame on the Night. Again, it's a good album. I'll still prefer, for one thing, maybe this, even though some will say this might even rival, maybe Black Sabbath, Dio stuff at Black Sabbath or Rainbow, but I don't think so in a way, but, because again, it's hard to rival any of those two out, those two eras of Rainbow and Black Sabbath, the Dio era, but it's good. If anything, what I was wanted to say was, I'll still listen to this over anything that Vivian Campbell has been doing for the last couple of years with fucking Def Leppard. But if I'm gonna really also give Vivian Campbell the time of day, it's gonna be the Sweet Savage shit. Yes, there's still a lot of early stuff that Vivian Campbell had recorded with Sweet Savage that exist. And I have those in my computer downloaded. But, yeah. Okay, here's again, now let's move on. Maybe not yet, because I may have to get to some vinyl. You know what, I'll probably just go with the CDs at this point. Got around to finally listening to this album recently. This is Deep Purple, Stormbringer. Of course, I talked about Deep Purple as well in this, I think I did. Yeah, I wasn't mentioning about Molly Hatchet. But, I never gave this album a listen. I always heard, like N-Rock, Machine Head, which Machine Head and Perpendicular were the two earliest Deep Purple albums I ever heard as a young, little thrash head. But, I never did. Of course, I heard later albums such as Burn, Come Taste the Band, Perfect Strangers, and another album that escaping me, Abandoned. Of course, I still haven't even listened to their last album from like 2013. But, the reason why I probably was kind of a little kind of on and on about wanting to listen to this album is because of the reviews. Hearing how it's too funky or something, kind of mixing a lot of funk within it, which there is definitely some funk in here, there is. But I was expecting way more funk on this album. Sure, of course, you got the title track, Stormbringer, which is a heavy track. Of course, Lady Double Dealer, which is a really good rockin' song. Even the Gypsy at times can be passed as a really good, sort of dark heaviness. It kind of gives away for what Richie Blackmore would do with Rainbow. But Highball Shooter is also another good track. Again, it's definitely not as, memorable, I guess, as Burn, or even the album prior to this one, which is Come Taste the Band, but still is a good album. To me, I was just a little surprised by it. Even at times, it kind of gives way for what David Coverdale would do with Whitesnake. And again, it's pre-Whitesnake, while Come Taste the Band is pretty much post, Whitesnake is post Deep Purple. But still, good album, actually. Of course, this is the Rhino reissue, the 2-disc copy, which features the quadraphonic mix, which of course was actually issued on vinyl and 8-track also back in the 70s. So it features that mix, which, while it's nice to hear the quadraphonic mix, I think it kind of robs the heaviness of the album. Yes, there is definitely a heaviness to the original mix, if anything, because it's different. I think that Richie Blackmore's guitar isn't as heavy sounding as on the original mix. That's all I gotta say. Other than that, good album. I still haven't listened to Glenn Hughes' remix, but to be quite honest, how many times I gotta hear, remix this, remix that, original mix. If it's a later remix, maybe I still have to give a listen to that Come Taste the Band 2010 remix on the reissue that I also have. But other than that, good album. So let's definitely now get into these three discs, which I just got recently thanks to Scott Waters. This, of course, says Ultimatum, Heart of Metal. I've actually, I knew about Ultimatum for quite a bit of time, actually. I've followed Scott's website, No Life Till Metal, since like 2008. And as far as Ultimatum, I knew about him since like 2009, 10, and I did download the Lex Metalist because I wanted to kind of hear some of the cover tracks, and again, they were pretty executed very well. But hearing post cover songs, the only song on here that is taken from the Lex Metalis disc is Locked in Chains, which is a Moshkateers cover, which I will talk about Moshkateers soon, but real soon, But really solid disc. This was released in 2012, and I gotta give Scott some good credit. Good disc, and some just as some of the few Christian metal bands, I think this is Ultimatum. I would say is probably one of the few ones that really puts a lot of bit of thought into the lyrics. It isn't your usual fight the devil type of lyrics, which is still same thing I also have at times with certain bands that sing about Satan. It's always going to be about Satan this, God that, instead of putting some extra thought into some of the lyrics. But still good. Some of the tracks I really also dug were the ones off the Into the Pit album, which will probably be the second Ultimatum album I'll get. I think vinyl is done, so I'll definitely go flip that. Alright. This is pretty much what I've been using to clean the records because of... I do have a brush thing, but lost it, I guess. That or I accidentally put in storage. Not thinking straight. But maybe I might end up getting a new one. One of these days, a new... brush to clean the records. But at this point, this does fine. Get the dust off. So again, good disc. Definitely happy with it. Glad to have it in the collection. Now it's on to the next one, which of course, thanks to Scott Waters, is the Moshkateers. I never really listened to the Moshkateers before this. I've listened to other Christian metal bands such as Vengeance Rising, which I knew about Vengeance Rising for a long time, actually. Thanks to my brother, actually. And of course I knew about Deliverance, and Recon. The Recon are not a thrash band, but I've heard about, there's a few Christian thrash bands I knew about, but this one, not really. But giving this, a listen, I actually dug this. This is definitely a thrash metal album. At times kind of reminding me a little bit of later era Dark Angel, like Leave Scars. I think it's because, dude, the vocals kind of reminded me a little bit of Ron Reinhardt. But definitely some heavy tracks on here. It kind of... The one thing I've noticed also about this album, and I guess with certain Christian metal bands, is the variety is very varied. It's not really all thrash at times. It's definitely mixing a little bit of different other styles of metal. You get like traditional metal. You get like at times, bluesy or funkish type of stuff thrown in there, like with Grease the Duck, which I'll get to in a bit. But then you'll have, of course, I think I did say traditional metal with tracks such as Nightmares and The Life of Emptiness. But good track though. I really definitely dug this. And of course, Grease the Duck, which I'm going to talk about. Again, when I said that about Ultimatum with putting some thought into your lyrics, this one kind of does the same. It's not always your typical, fight for Jesus Christ and such as that. And anything, Grease the Duck is probably the only track that stood out for me as the one that kind of calls out the sort of bullshit on the sort of healer type stuff with these people who say that they can heal people from, their sins, whatever, which is complete hokey bullshit if you ask me, because I don't think they can heal worth shit. They just do it so they can get some fucking money, that's all. And so this track really calls out on them. And it still is something that still is very relevant to this day. So it definitely the track has relevance. So other than that, not bad. And I can tell this was taken from a cassette. But even for a cassette, sounds the remastering on it is definitely good. I would say almost even beats my cassette remaster of Virus's Force Recon, but still good disc. Now it's time for the last disc, and this was another one that I got from Scott Waters. This is the Ulterium Records label sampler 2015. Now this features a lot of power metal, progressive metal, symphonic metal bands, and very modern at that. Not a bad disc. Maybe not one I'll play often, but for what it was a nice listen. The only two tracks that really stuck at me was the Diviner track, Kingdom Come, which at times does have a bit of a priest sound to it, and Worldview, which Scott Waters did talk about as well. But still, good tracks on here in some places. But it is definitely on the modern side of power metal, which is kind of at times can be close to like, let's say, though it is more listenable than Dragon Force, which I can't stand Dragon Force. Pure guitar masturbation bullshit, in my opinion. Though I've heard good things about the debut, I guess, saying that's the only good thing the band has ever released, but even that's saying much. Ain't much, I mean. But the only track I really did not care for is the fucking lead track, Remnant. This is the only track that passes off as a fucking modern symphonic metal track. I couldn't take it for any minute. I literally had to skip it. It's like, the rest of the tracks were fine. I can hang with some of them. When it came to the lead track, though, I'm just like, I'm not gonna hang with this. I'm just not in that symphonic style of metal. Nightwish, fucking, stuff like that. I'm just not into that. And that's pretty much what this track passes for. Even the people on Facebook I'm friends with, though it's probably thanks to somebody else, Jan Melston, whatever his name is, who's my Facebook friend, calling it, I think, long dress core. I think because of the way that most of those symphonic metal bands look like, it's all complete about the dress, the way they look. It's supposed to look all gothic or something like that, kind of looking very modern, sort of beauty-like crap. And that's pretty much what this ends up sounding like. Yes, there's a sound to that. I literally could not take it. I literally just had to fucking press the skip button. And Worldview, of course, if they had just left off the lead track as a bonus, if they had just left it off and just kept the Worldview track, this actually would have been just a good enough listen. But Black Fate was okay. It's just the only thing is I'm just not into that modern power metal stuff, because I like that U.S. power metal and early European power metal stuff. You know, and I just got done talking about Halloween. And, again, I like the stuff that I like that's from Europe that past as really early German or European power metal would be like later Clovenhoof, like Sultan's Ransom, and that, or of course when it comes to Germany, Gravedigger, Running Wild, early Halloween, stuff like that. And when it comes to U.S. power metal, Obsession, Metal Church, Omen, in a way. Yeah, that's pretty much what, again, that's the type of Vicious Rumors. That's just this type of style of power metal I like. Not too much of a modern power metal. But again, is it bad? Not really bad. It's just stuff that really would have to grow on you in order to probably get into it. But if you're really not into that stuff, this sampler might not be for you or some of these bands. The only one I really would just take I'll just take from this is Diviner and Worldview. Two of the good tracks off two good bands on this comp. But am I, disappointed to have it? Not really. Just because it has one bad track doesn't mean the rest is all crap. But still, not bad. Let's finally get to the vinyl. This is one that I put on, my 5 Random Records video. This, of course, is Mass, Take You Home. I did the needle drop on it, and I hadn't heard it in quite a while. And when I did, I really was digging it again. Again, newfound love, I guess you can say. Newfound love. Pedal to the Metal won it back over you. Of course, you got Take You Home and The Holy One. Good, just a solid EP, and I'm definitely will be out, in the lookout for some of their other stuff. I once came across a copy of New Birth at one point at Recycled Records, but I just pretty much thought, like everyone else has had once in their time, every time they look, go to a record store, there will be something there. It's like, maybe we'll hear the next time. They go again, okay. You find something else, okay. You have to pass on it, then you'll still be thinking it will be there the next time. Well, disappeared. Gone. Luckily this was there though, a few times, which I was glad to have been able to get it before it did, got snatched by someone else. And so I still have a story about when I was about to buy this. This was I think back in 2013, and I'm there with my dad browsing through records and shit, and there's this one guy who was there obviously looking for old 50s, 40s shit. And of course I was wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt, which was Killers, and he pretty much says, you're into that metal stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'm into that stuff. So, and he says, and it's a young guy, around his late 20s, early 30s maybe, but, like, yeah, okay. I move along to get stuff. And of course, he ended up saying that all the 50 stuff, all the rare shit. And I pretty much said, and I told him, there's a lot of really rare metal out there, man. Almost sound like I was talking to a fucking hipster. Well, I'm not gonna be too judgmental. Well, maybe not until this part. I ended up pulling this record out because I finally, I'm like, I see it there, I'm like, alright, this is my chance to finally pick a Masters Take You Home, so I can actually listen to this. I pull it up, he says, dude, where the hell you find that? And I'm like, it was here the whole time. It's like, yeah, it's like, I know about it, but, because I ended up saying that this is Masters Take You Home, I know what it is, but I think that sells for about $50. Obviously, I think this guy, whoever was selling this for $50, literally just wanted fucking cash, because even though this is a good EP, why would this sell for? I've seen this album online sell for way less than $50. So I don't know where the hell he got that information. I guess somebody on eBay was fucking selling this for $50 then. Again, one thing about entering to a record store, you always end up coming across somebody who thinks they know their shit, but really probably does not know their shit. Yeah, that's pretty much a story that I have about this album. Odd. But yeah, good EP. I'm definitely going to be on the lookout for some of the other stuff, at least early stuff, because I've heard that some of the later stuff isn't as good, at least the one after that. But still, since I pulled this one out of my 5 Random Records video, I pretty much had nothing a whole lot to say, and plus I was interrupted by a fucking phone call, which was by somebody I didn't know who the hell it was. I didn't care to pick up because it was a phone number I did not recognize. So it just pretty much ruined my moment of probably going into detail about me not listening to this album besides one thing, but the Runaways. For one, the reason why I had some hesitations to play this is because of Cherry Bomb. How many times I gotta hear fucking Cherry Bomb? Even the Guardians of the Galaxy film was getting played. I'm just like, this is such an overrated, overplayed track. But finally giving a listen, you know what? Actually, not a bad listen. Besides the one, obvious track, which is it isn't bad. But some of the best songs on here are actually some of the more, I can't think of ones. Dead and Justice wasn't bad as, I think Is It Day or Night, I think was also a good track. Some of it at times kind of goes for a bit of a bluesy sound to it, kind of like a heavy blues sound at times. So it's a very raw rock album. Definitely early stuff before Joan Jett ever became, the pop star that she became, or Lita Ford doing her stuff. Even though this isn't nearly as metallic sounding as Lita Ford's Out for Blood, it still is a very, fun listen. Oh yeah, one thing. Kim Fowley's still a fucking dick. That's all I'm gonna throw in. This one I just pulled out for the hell of it because I just wanted to listen to it again. This, of course, is Michael Schenker Group, or just MSG, the second album. Let's just say second album. Everyone definitely has talked about Michael Schenker before. Either it's with UFO or it's with maybe Macaulay Schenker, any of that. But good album. Maybe not nearly as heavy as maybe the debut, I guess, but still is a good album. Are You Ready to Rock? Attack of the Mad Axeman. Let Sleeping Dogs Lie, But I Want More, which is kind of good as well. Looking for Love, Secondary Motion. There's some good tracks on here. Just, of course it's the American copy, but still, good album. I really do dig this. Of course, I've heard UFO stuff as well. Again, throughout my childhood, I've heard quite a bit of Michael Schenker. Now let's finally get to the last album. So I'm starting to get a little tired of talking for a bit because of my voice. I talk too long and my vocal cords get kind of raspy. maybe that kind of adds to the rawness of this video. But I hadn't heard this album quite a bit. Even though I like this band, I had the pleasure of seeing them in like 2012, or was it 2011? It was 2011 or 2010. No, I think it was 2011. Was it? Yeah, it was 2011. But Blue Oyster Cult. Of course, it was when they had Rudy Sarzo as a bass player. But this, of course, is the Club Ninja album, which is kind of is a bit of a, keeping in line with the commercial sound of Revolution by Night, but maybe a bit too commercial, I guess, in some places. But I'm actually fine with this album. I can hang with this album in a way. It's not heavy. It's not, the old Blue Oyster Cult of the first 3 albums, but it still is good. I still like it. God, which Perfect Water, I think I remember liking. Shadow Warrior, I think, was also one that was not too bad. I think even Madness to the Method wasn't too bad as well. But I don't mind this album. I don't mind it. Again, probably not their greatest work, but still is good. Still is. But it's a fine album. Just a fine album, if you ask me. Just a fine album. Of course, the track "When the War Comes" out, the fucking what's his name? He's on here. Yeah, like I really care to bring that guy's name up anyway. But still not a bad album. Just fine. So that was about 13 albums that I showed, actually probably 14 or 15 counting the fucking box set, the Molly Hatchet set, but still not a bad album. I mean, not some good ones that I'm like, some I'm still getting around to listening to a bit more, but some ones that I haven't listened to quite a while. So long video, so I hope you had grabbed the beverage to sit back and just kick back and listen to somebody talk about music for a fucking few minutes. But let's definitely end out.